Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajatacharya Ashtottara Shatashi Shrima His Divine Grace Abhaicharan Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Samsthapanacharya Savior of the whole world Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Shri Shri Krishna Balarama Ki Shri Nitai Gauranga Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Nitai Go Premanande Hari Hari Go Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Today we will discuss about material life and spiritual life. What constitutes, what makes material life and what makes spiritual life. These days there is a lot of interest, we read in the media, for spirituality. And so what is spirituality? What is spiritual life? And what is, in contrast, material life? The word material is derived from the word matter. The word spiritual is derived from the word spirit. So we must try to understand what is matter and what is spirit. And let us take the help of Bhagavad Gita to understand what is matter and what is spirit. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha. Ubhayorapi drishtvantas tvanayos tattva darshibihi. This is a verse from the second chapter, very early part of Krishna's discourse to Arjuna. Here, Krishna has used the word tattva darshinaha, ubhayorapi drishtvantas, ubhayorapi drishtvantas, tvanayos tattva darshibihi, tattva darshi. Tattva means the truth, and darshi means one who is seeing the truth. So Krishna is citing, this is what the seers of the truth have concluded after studying the nature of both. Ubhayorapi drishtvantas tvanayos tattva darshibihi. After examining, ubhayaha means two. What are the two? Matter and spirit. They have analyzed matter and spirit and they have concluded this. And what is it that they have concluded? Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha. That which is constantly changing is matter, and that which does not change is spirit. This is the simple understanding from this verse. Now, if you look at the many different things in this world, say for instance, you buy a car, after 5 years, 8 years, it becomes an old car and you will want to dispose it. You buy a new house, 10 years, starts breaking down. 15 years, you want to dispose it. Matter is constantly undergoing changes. That is the characteristic of matter. You can take any example of matter. You will see with time, under the influence of time, it changes. Just like the body that we have. Even the body that we have is changing. When we were born, we were just so small that our mothers held us in her 2 palms. Today, what has become of us? You see? So, body, matter is constantly changing, and that is the characteristic of matter. And Gita informs us, Bhagavad Gita informs us, that which is not changing is the spirit. Now, this is not adequate to understand what is spirit. Where is the spirit? That which is not changing. Where shall we go and look for spirit which is not changing? So in the next verse, Krishna says, where to look for that non-changing spirit? In fact, here the 2 words used, matter and spirit, in Sanskrit are Sat and Asat. Sat is spirit and Asat is matter. And the characteristic of matter here, it is said, is change. And the characteristic of spirit is non-changing. That's the nature of spirit. In the next verse, Krishna helps us to identify further where is this matter and where is the spirit. Avinashitu tadvidhi ena sarvamidam tatam vinasham avyayasyasya nakaschit kartum arhasi. Krishna is saying there is something that is spread all over this body. Avinashitu tadvidhi ena sarvamidam tatam. Idam sarvam tatam enaha. That which is spread all over this body. Just like if somebody pulls your hair, you will feel the pain. If you stamp on something very sharp, you feel the pain from head to toe. There is something that is spread, and that is what we call consciousness. So what is spread all over the body is consciousness, and Krishna is saying, Bhagavad Gita is teaching us that consciousness is spread all over the body, and that is not changing. How do we say that is not changing? Like this. There is the sense of awareness that is there in all of us, right? We are individual unit of consciousness, and my consciousness is restricted to my body. And with the help of my senses, I interact with the world around me. And that is my perception. Consciousness is that which gives me a sense of awareness. Like we are all sitting here today, we are all conscious that we are sitting in a temple. We are conscious it is a Sunday morning. We are conscious in the morning we got up and we did a set of things. We are conscious after some time we will do certain other things. We are conscious tomorrow is going to be a Monday. We have to go to our office. We are conscious. That consciousness is spread all over the body. The body is matter. But that consciousness which is spread all over is non-matter, it is spirit. Like say for instance this table. Table is not conscious. Today is a Sunday morning. Whereas all of us are conscious. There may be an ant crawling on the floor. The ant is also conscious. May not be conscious it is Sunday morning, but the ant is conscious. Where is the sugar crystal that I am looking for? In its own domain it has its consciousness. In its own limited understanding it has conscious feelings, awareness, emotions, desires, aspirations. These are all expressions of consciousness. An ant has, all of us have, and we are all units of consciousness. I may interact with you, but I interact with you through my senses. And then I get a sense of your consciousness. But otherwise I have no direct experience of your consciousness, whereas I have direct experience of my consciousness and my body through my body. Now, the body is undergoing changes, but the consciousness is the same, is the constant factor. When we were small children, we were experiencing the life of a child, like those children are running around there. We were also like that, running around. We had our own world and we were conscious of that world. Now we have grown up. We are no more interested in that world. We are interested in another world. The children are caught up in the world of their toys. And we have another set of toys called money, success, fame, power. These are the things which engage us and absorb us. Another set of things that we are involved in. Because the consciousness is the same, but the body through which it is expressing, the mind through which it is expressing, the intelligence through which it is manifesting is undergoing change. Now we become adults, adult mind, adult intelligence, an adult body. So the body is undergoing change. The mind and intelligence is also undergoing change. Later on in the 7th chapter, Krishna explains, the mind and intelligence is also matter, but subtle matter. It's a different kind of a matter, fine matter. This is the gross matter. There is a finer matter, and that finer matter is mind and intelligence, which also undergoes changes. Beyond the mind and intelligence, there is a sense of awareness. Just like the child is aware of its world, we are aware of our world. That awareness is very fundamental. That awareness is the constant factor. Here, Krishna is saying something even more wonderful. Avinashi tu tat vidhi ena sarvam idam tatam vinasham avyayasyasya nakaschit kartum arhasi. In this body, this consciousness is spread. Idam sarvam tatam. But that consciousness which gives us the sense of awareness, right? As I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm a child, I'm a rich man, I'm a poor man. All this sense, that consciousness that we get, that consciousness, Krishna is saying, is never destroyed. Avinashi. Nashi means to be destroyed. Avinashi means will never be destroyed. This statement has a very serious ramification. Because we all know one day we are going to die. How seriously we take it is a different thing. We all know that we are going to die one day. It's a given thing. But here, Krishna is saying in the Gita, that consciousness which is pervading this body, it is the consciousness which gives us our sense of identity. It is our selfhood. That consciousness never dies. That means we will survive the demise and destruction of this body. The body will die and degrade, we know. We will continue to exist beyond the existence of this body. Avinashi tu tat vidhi ena sarvamidam. Krishna helps us further to explain how to understand this. Now in the next verse, Antavanta ime deha nityasya okta sharirinaha anashino aprameyasya tasmad yudyasva bharata. Krishna has introduced a word here, sharirinaha. The word sharira means in Sanskrit the body. Sharirinaha means an occupant in the body. There is the body and there is an occupant in the body, just like there is a car and there is a driver inside the car. And that driver inside this body is the source of that consciousness which is manifest all through the body. And that spark, Sharirinaha, the occupant in the body, which is manifesting the consciousness all through the body, and the body is Antavanta, means it has got an end. Anta, it has got an end. Antavanta means that which has an end. Antavanta ime deha. This deha is Antavanta, is destined to be finished one day. Nityasya uktaha sharirinaha. But that one who is seated inside this body, the occupant of the body, sharirinaha, is nitya, is constant, unchanging. And that is the characteristic of spirit we talked about. So, there is consciousness manifesting in this body, and that source of that consciousness is the spark, which is called the spirit soul. Spirit soul or spiritual soul, that is not material. That non-material soul is the one which is occupying the body and is animating this body, and this body is Antavanta, whereas the occupant of the body, that spirit, is Nitya, is spirit. So, we were talking about matter and spirit. Right in this body, there is an admixture of matter and spirit. Right here, this is the matter. And the thinking, feeling personality which is occupying this body. I am that spirit. That selfhood, that sense of identity that I am having, that is actually coming from that spirit, which is the seat of consciousness, which is the source of consciousness, and which is the Sharirinaha, the occupant of the body. Moment this spirit soul in my body, if it leaves this body, say for instance now, I won't be able to talk anymore. I won't be able to sit. I'll gradually tilt and fall. And all of you will get up and say, oh, something happened to Prabhuji. And a doctor will examine and say, gone. He is dead. Right? But the body is there. That is, body is Antavanta. Sharira, Nitya, Sharirinaha Nitya, that eternal spirit soul has now moved on to another situation. That spirit soul came into this situation, into this bodily situation, governed by certain laws. It was not in our control. Did any of you choose who your father and mother will be? Nobody chose. The dress you are wearing, you chose. The car you drive, you chose. The house you live in, you chose. The job you do, more or less you chose under certain constraints or whatever. But the parents, which family you will be born in, you did not choose. It was decided by the higher laws of nature. In the same way, when it is time, the higher laws of nature will determine this soul from this body into a new situation where it will go. So this is actually what is happening. We talk about spirit. Our first encounter with spirit is our own self. We are ourselves, a spark of that spirit residing in this body. But what is happening is, most of the time, we think we are the body. We don't make the distinction, I am a resident in the body. It is just like the driver identifying himself with the car. That is what has our situation become. So if I ask you who you are, you will say, I am a Honda car. I say, no, I didn't ask you which car you have. Please tell me who you are. Again you will say, I am 2010 model. Hey, I didn't ask you which model your car is. Please tell me who you are. And again you will say, I am silver grey. No, I didn't ask you which color car you are having. I am asking about you, but you are describing your car. Absurd, isn't it? That is what is happening to all of us. We are right now thinking we are the body. I am man. I am woman. I am so many years old. I am young. It's all a description of the body. The car. I am actually a car driver. Inside that, I am the driver in the car. But when you ask me about me, I will describe my car. This is because of a misunderstanding that we are having. Although we are spirit, we are identifying ourselves with matter. This distinction Krishna is trying to bring out in the early part of the Bhagavad Gita to help us understand what is matter, what is spirit. Later on, Krishna explains in 2 verses in the 7th chapter, even more interesting analysis. Bhumirapo nalo vayuhu khammano buddhirevacha ahankaramithiyam me bhinna prakrutirashtadha aparemitastva anyam prakrutim viddhi me param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. Krishna is describing what is this body made of. He says this body is made of 8 elements. Bhumirapo nalo vayuhu khammano buddhirevacha ahankaramithiyam me bhinna prakriti ashtada. Ashta means 8. Krishna is saying this body is made of 8 elements. Now, what are these 8 elements? The 8 elements are the 5 Panchabhutas. Earth, water, fire, air and space. Right? This body is made of these things. We all know this from our Indian traditional knowledge, that our body is made of Panchabhutas. 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air and space. Now sometimes we feel this is very simplistic definite understanding of the body. Look at modern science. We have such a nice understanding. It is made of nervous system, endocrine system, skeletal system. This looks a lot more sophisticated than what you Indian understanding is just Panchabhuta. It's a little too simplistic. You get that sense, right? No, it is not so. Actually, the purpose of modern science and the purpose of Vedic analysis is different. The purpose of Vedic analysis is to find out what is driving this body and what is moving this body. The purpose of modern science is how to fix the body when it breaks down. So when you have a different objective, you will analyze things in a different way. Say for instance, there is a carnival going on. There is a big fair. So many booths are there, and children are there, some music is going on, this, that, so lights and stage and so many things are going on. You are from the county, tax collector, tax inspector from the county, and you are going to the fair. You will be looking in one way, right? Where all I should collect tax, where they have provided, they have got permission, they have not got permission. Suppose you are a parent. You want to bring your child next week for the same carnival. You are looking in a different way. Your purpose, your whole perception of the carnival, you will be seeing in a different way. So that depends on what purpose you have, the way you will analyze the carnival. If you are an engineer, you are looking at it in yet another way. So it all depends. What is the purpose of the analysis, you will analyze in different ways. In the same way, the Vedic purpose is, this body is moving, doing wonderful things. Someone is a big rock star singer, someone is an actor, someone is an intellectual. All of them are doing different things. what is pushing them ultimately? What is that prime mover in this body which is making all these wonderful activities? Vedic literatures want to find out that. Whereas modern science purpose is different. If in case this breaks down, broke down because of what? Heart, nervous system, this system, that, how to fix it. So it's a different, altogether a different purpose of studying, the purpose which is driving modern science. So we should not think that this is simplistic, this is more sophisticated. The purpose was different. So, Panchabhutas, these 5 elements are there because ultimately you see, what is this body made of? It's made of organs and tissue and blood and skin and bone. This is nothing but a transformation of the food that we eat. And the food that we eat, it's coming from the earth. Food is a transformation of earth, sunlight, water, and some gases. That's what photosynthesis is. Right? All of that leads to. And then that we eat. And that gets transformed into cells and tissues and organs and all of that. So it's just, there is earthly element in the body. There is a liquid watery element. According to science, remember in high school biology we all read, the protoplasm is about 95% water. So there is water there. Right? And there is gas, oxygen, carbon dioxide, there is gas. And there is certain amount of temperature, fire is there in this body. If the fire is not there, dangerous. If the fire is too much, also dangerous. It's less, also dangerous. Appropriate fire has to be there in this body. And this body is occupying a certain amount of space, undeniably. So these are the 5 elements, Panchabhutas. And then there is the mind, manaha, and there is the intelligence, 6 and 7. 8 elements totally, right? 6th is mind, 7th is intelligence. Now in Vedic parlance, mind and intelligence are seen as separate things. Mind is the one which generates thoughts, and intelligence is the one which gives direction to the thoughts. Like say for instance, when you see nice spread of food, your mind will say, good food, I must enjoy. But then the intelligence will say, no, cholesterol, diabetes, don't eat too much, you'll put on weight. And then you'll say, all right, difficult but somehow. Right? That's the function of the intelligence. It gives direction to the thinking process. So mind and intelligence are separate, are two different things. Mana, buddhi. Then there is the 8th element, which is called ahankara. Ahankara was translated by Srila Prabhupada when he translated the Gita as false ego. We'll come to the function of what is false ego. And the difference between Panchabhuta and the other 3, Panchabhuta is something that you can touch, feel, look at it. Panchabhutas are very gross like that. Whereas mind, intelligence and false ego, you can know by its functioning. You cannot touch it. Can I touch your mind a little bit? No. But I can know the effect of your mind. I know the effect of your intelligence. From its effect we can know, we can perceive the presence of mind and intelligence. And similarly, false ego. What is false ego? We'll come to that. In the next, these are the 8 elements. 8th one I have not described. We'll hold on to that. 7 I have described. Panchabhuta, 5. Mind, intelligence. 6 and 7. 8th one we'll come to. Now, Krishna says, in this body, apart from these 8 elements, there's a 9th element. Aparemitastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhuta mahabaho. That living entity, all of us, we are the living entity, the spark of spirit I was talking about. Sharirinaha, occupant in the body, the driver in the body, is the 9th element in the body. Now we also talked about that although we are a distinct ninth element in the body, we mistake ourselves to be the body. Right? You ask who you are, I'll say I'm a man, I'm a woman, and this and that we describe. This misunderstanding is being brought out by the eighth element called false ego, ahankara. The effect of, just like mind generates thoughts, intelligence gives direction to the thought, the false ego is the one which brings about a misconception that I am the body, while actually I am not the body, I am an occupant of the body. That is the function of ahankara. And that's why, because there is an element, eighth element, that is why you take any culture, any country, all of us will give the same answer. Who are you? I am man. You can ask a Japanese, you can ask an Indian, you can ask an American, everybody, who are you? I am man. I am 50 years old. I am a doctor. I am rich man. I am poor man. Describing the body. I am asking who you are, you are describing the body. I am asking who you are, you describe the car. It's absurd. In the same way, it's absurd that our self-identity has become in terms of the body, while actually we are not a body, we are an occupant in the body. We will stay in this body for some time. One day, according to the laws of higher nature, we will exit from this body and move on to a new situation. That is the reality. But while we are in this body, our identity is so thickly cemented in terms of this body, and we talk only in terms of our body. That's what I am. So that is why Krishna helps us to make this distinction. This is matter. Even the mind, intelligence and false ego is also another kind of a finer matter. And apart from that is the spirit soul, which is spiritual or spirit. So in other words, there are two things happening here, matter and spirit. When your whole life is concerned about developing and enhancing and improving matter, it is called material life. Just like you want to give a good dress to this body, you want to give good food to this body, you want to give good education to the mind and intelligence, you want to give fine music, literature, poems, and all of those finer things, art for the mind and intelligence. See, those things are very essential. If you don't have good food, the body will become malnourished. If you don't give good education to the mind and intelligence, you will be an uneducated fool. All of these are essential because food enriches the body. Education, art, culture enriches our mind and intelligence. In the same way, part of us or our real self is the spirit soul, and there is a certain method of enriching that self, that consciousness, and that enriching, the activities that enrich the consciousness is called spiritual activities. But we live in a society where there is a lot of emphasis for development of the material or the matter or the material dimension of our existence. There is practically total negligence of the enrichment and nourishment of our spiritual existence. So this is what is happening. So we are mostly involved in material life, and we very little have knowledge and awareness of the spiritual dimension of ourselves, and there is some enrichment required, there is nourishment required for the spirit. We are not aware of it. Now, when we take to spiritual life, as given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, and enriching and nourishing the spirit, you will see it opens up a new dimension of happiness and knowledge and enlightenment and awareness, which was hitherto not available when we were simply focused on our material life. Now, one fear most people have is, if I talk about spiritual development, maybe my material development will come to an end. Right? If I talk about spirituality and spiritual development, maybe what will happen to my job? What will happen to my family? I've got so many plans, my career plans, my this plan or that plan. Will that get affected? Gita's message is, no, this will not get affected. And as demonstrated in Arjuna's life himself. Arjuna was a warrior before hearing the Bhagavad Gita. After hearing the Bhagavad Gita, he remained a warrior. In fact, he became a successful warrior. And they fought the war. And the Pandava brothers became the rulers. So all of that material development can continue. Parallel, spiritual development can also happen. It's not that one will come in the way of the other. There is an art, you can practice both the things in parallel. That is the beauty of the knowledge given in the Bhagavad Gita. So, in other words, there is matter, you cannot deny that. You cannot say, no, I am actually spirit, ninth element, I am the spirit soul, so I will stop eating. No. All of us have to eat. Even we have to. Even we eat quite well. So we cannot stop eating. That's requirement of the body. So there is the material level of material life, where we have our body, our job, our family, our home, our pets, and whatever. And we can take care of all of those things very nicely. There is one more layer or one more level of spiritual existence, and we have to do certain activities to take care of the spiritual nourishment and enrichment of our consciousness. And both can go parallel. It is not that we have to stop our material development for the sake of spiritual development. Just like every one of you, you may be pursuing business, you may be a housewife, you may be an engineer, whatever you are, business, whatever you are doing. You also have a little time in your life to pursue some higher things. You may be interested in music, someone is interested in some instrument, someone is interested in some art. Something, we all pursue something, right? And we spend a little time for that. And that actually nourishes our professional life. That makes our professional life, it makes it interesting. In the same way, we can bring in some amount of spiritual practices in our life, which will only further nourish our material life also. And it is not going to affect the other one. Now, there are very interesting examples. Now, all of us should accept in our lives, sometimes the material life has ups and downs. Right? You can't help it. Sometimes there is success, sometimes there is failure, sometimes there is some pain, sometimes pleasure. Ups and downs and all these goes on in material life. That's the nature of material life. And when there is failure, when there is some difficulty, some challenge, people become depressed. People get affected. Right? Now, if you have a healthy balance of material life and spiritual life, you will know how to handle all those ups and downs and remain unaffected. It gives a certain strength, inner strength. It gives a certain purpose for life, that these ups and downs in this world will not affect us. That is the advantage of becoming well-versed in spiritual life, along with our material life, which we are anyway doing. I'll give you an example. Suppose there is a man he's sleeping and he's dreaming and he's having a nightmare. And there is a tiger chasing him in the dream. And he's running, full of fear. And the tiger is just behind him. He's sweating, calling out, screaming for help. And he's running and running. And sometimes you can see that, a person sleeping, he suddenly starts sweating. Some convulsions and those kind of external things also you may see. Now here is a man who is going through this kind of a nightmarish experience. How can we help him? One way we can help him is somehow get into his dream and get a dream gun and shoot the dream tiger. Right? And then he will say, oh, thank you so much. The tiger is dead. He'll feel relieved. Right? That's one way to help him. There's another way to help him. Tap him and wake him. And then he'll wake up. And he'll say, where is the tiger? There's no tiger at all. Really, I thank you so much that you woke me up. Right? In the same way, when you lead a life, the material life, completely oblivious and ignorant of the spiritual component of life, it's like the dream life. And when the ups and downs come there, you are completely bogged down and completely affected by that. You see? Whereas when you are aware of the spiritual life, when you are aware of this important aspect of our life, the spiritual element, the spiritual layer in our life, when such challenges come, we quickly switch to the other layer, and look from that layer, look at that layer, at the material layer. Then you will see that, yeah, that's all there, but I know, but I'll deal with it as it comes by. You're much more equipped and competent and empowered internally to handle those ups and downs that come anyway in the material world. If you are not conscious of the spiritual level and completely ignorant of it, you have not practiced, you are not adept in how to handle all these things. What is spirituality? You don't know any of these things. Then you only have that life. And the ups and downs there will constantly be troubling us. So there's a big advantage in being aware of these two levels, material existence and spiritual existence. And both continue to go on in our life. We have to just spend a little time for those spiritual development and spiritual practices while we go on with our material life. So, this is material and this is spiritual life. And both can go hand in hand. And one of the important practices for the spiritual awareness to develop. See, it's a higher kind of a development. It's a higher kind of an awareness that we are talking about. So, for that higher awareness to come about, we have to chant the names of Krishna, which is also spiritual, and helps us to develop that spiritual level, spiritual awareness. And that's why we chant Hare Krishna mantra. We come to a temple, we hear about Krishna's message from the Gita, reading Krishna's message from the Bhagavad Gita. All of this will help us realize, understand, and appreciate that spiritual level. And we become very much aware of that consciousness and our consciousness development, and then we will be much more qualified and competent to handle the challenges that come in material life. So we must take spiritual life seriously, and there is spirituality in every culture in the world. In the Vedic culture, that spirituality has been very rigorously analyzed and understood with very, very interesting spiritual practices. That is the beauty. So we have these spiritual practices like Kirtan, Arati, chanting, Prasadam, hearing the Gita, hearing the Bhagavatam, associating with devotees. By doing all of these things, we will enhance and develop our spiritual life. Welcome all of you to keep coming, continue to come to this temple and associate with devotees here and learn more and more about spiritual life and spiritual practices. If anyone has any questions, one or two questions, I'll try to answer, time permitting. Time is up? No time. Just maybe if anyone has any question. Yes, please. Yeah, yes, please. Yeah.
Sometimes we pass those tests, sometimes we fail those tests based on how we react to situations.
Yes.
But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, whatever state of being one puts his body at the time of death, that is what he will attain without fail. When you speak to that verse, in terms of your preaching today, you talk about materialism and spirituality in parallel. And as we get older, one should overtake the other, and one spirituality should increase in preparation for the moment of death. Because we all know at the moment of death is the greatest test. And that can determine whether we have an animal body, another human body, or according to the laws of material nature, what she decides to do with the soul. But also, our state of mind at the time of death is a reflection of the life we live, and the thoughts and activities we have made and take. So can you please elaborate on that?
Yes, I'll briefly do that. And so we were talking about the soul. At some point will leave this body, and I just mentioned there are higher laws which will determine what kind of a situation we will next go to. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, the whole process of spiritual development is very elaborately described. Now, when we practice spiritual life and become very developed spiritually advanced, then it is possible for the spirit soul, we talked about matter and spirit, right? And we talked about matter. This world is world of matter. The car, the house, the buildings, everything is matter undergoing changes, including our body. Now, this spirit being mixed with matter in this world is the one which is actually the cause of all these tribulations and the miseries that we experience. Now, Krishna introduces a very interesting concept that spirit can go to another realm, another domain of existence, which is all spirit, if we are properly qualified. And then, if we are properly qualified and go to that spiritual realm, that is the kingdom of Krishna. And that is the kingdom of the Lord, where the living entity eternally resides there, serving the Lord in complete bliss. So that's the most advanced stage of spiritual development. It is possible to attain that highest level of development within one lifetime. Or if we do not complete, whatever level of spiritual development we have made will be our permanent asset, and we will begin from there on in our next life and incrementally keep adding on our spiritual development. And the highest perfection is to come to the association of Krishna and be a loving servant of Krishna in the spiritual world. And there is a wonderful, very extensive, very elaborate information about what is the spiritual world, what is the nature of activities in the spiritual world, who is Krishna, who we are, and what happens to us. And that's an elaborate subject matter in courses, in other classes. Other devotees will be covering all of those aspects, and you will get to know more. And finally, attaining that spiritual world is the perfection. And in fact, the sum and substance of the Bhagavad Gita is Krishna inviting us, please come to my abode. Come to my Krishna Dham, Krishna Loka. He is inviting all of us because ultimately we belong to that spiritual world. So, in your other classes, you will get to know more and more information about that. We will stop here. Thank you very much for attending the classes. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Sri Chanchalapati Prabhu, for kindly agreeing to visit our temple in the midst of his other schedules and rejuvenating us with his japa workshops and discourses and association. Now he will move on to Los Angeles today afternoon and from there to India. And we will expect him again to come in another 5 months in November and give his association again as he does every year. So please give him a big hand and we eagerly await for his return again. Hare Krishna. We will now have Aarti. Please request everyone to stand up.
Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram.